Graphic designers you should know about. Herb Lubalin. What if we told you that the designer who revolutionized the way we look at type was colorblind? Welcome to Two's Studio. In this episode of our Graphic Designers You Should Know About series, we're focusing on the fascinating life of Herb Lubalin, an iconic graphic designer who forever revolutionized typography. Herb Lubalin was born on March 17, 1918, in New York City, to a family that encouraged his artistic aspirations. Despite being colorblind, Herb didn't let this challenge deter him. Instead, it fueled his determination to redefine graphic design with a unique vision. He honed his skills at the prestigious Cooper Union, one of the most iconic institutions for aspiring artists and designers, located in Manhattan, New York. After Cooper Union, Herb plunged into the bustling world of advertising, like many graphic designers of his time or even ours. After being fired from a firm for requesting only $2 more per week, he joined Sudler and Hennessy, where he worked for 19 years. It was there, in 1957, that he and John J. Graham created the original NBC Peacock logo, a colorful masterpiece for someone who saw the world in shades of gray. But Herb wasn't content to just stick to advertising. He wanted more freedom to explore, so he took the leap and started his own studio. In 1964, Herb founded Lubalin Inc., giving him the creative freedom he craved. This was the launchpad for some of the most groundbreaking work of his career. Among his many works, we can focus on 3 logos: the mother and child logo, the family's logo, and the marriage logo, which are still cited among the most creative logos of all time. Despite being an iconic designer, Herb was always willing to collaborate. Take the story of the PBS logo. Herb often joked that he had to convince the client, PBS, that they actually wanted the logo he designed, as they kept asking him to change it.
Well, after much contemplation, we decided that the obvious solution comes out of the name. Public means people. They loved it, but they had a few reservations. The little man was red and facing left. And they said, well, couldn't you change the color? And we said, sure, we can change the color. That's not difficult. And they said, well, how about turning the N and the P around? And we said, that's impossible. If we turn the face around, he's going to have his nose right up to B. So we finally settled on the blue man, but facing left. And that's the story behind the PBS logo.
One of the most profound impacts Lubalin had on graphic design history was through his revolutionary approach to typography and editorial design.
Beginning of a very important relationship in Lubalin's life. It was the beginning of his relationship with a man called Ralph Ginsberg. And Ginsberg was an extraordinary 60s American figure. He was a radical. He was a counterculture figure. And he and Lubalin struck up a really powerful relationship where editor and designer came together. And this got its first showing in the publication Eros. And then they worked on perhaps the publication that Lubalin is best known for. He made a real reputation for himself as an editorial designer, working on a publication called Avant Garde. And Avant Garde was a wonderful thing. It was a square format publication, really powerfully designed, great use of photography and illustration. And out of that came the typeface Avant Garde, which Lubalin worked on with a man called Tom Carnesi, a great type designer. And Avant Garde was an extraordinary publication. And again, another example of editorial thinking and layout and editorial design coming together as one. There was a problem, though. As a consequence of an article published in Avant Garde, Ralph Ginsberg went to jail. In one of the issues, there was an article on love between the races, between white people and black people. But because of that, the authorities who'd long since tried to get Ginsberg, finally got him. And what's interesting is when I did my book on Lubalin, I interviewed Herb's wife. Herb died in 1980. His wife only died in the last few years. I interviewed her and she told me an interesting thing. She said, when Ginsberg went to jail, Lubalin said to Rhoda, his wife, I should have gone to jail too. And I think what that told me was that he saw the role of the editor and the designer as one. Finally, Lubalin made the move to being the editor himself, and he produced a publication called Upper and Lowercase, which was almost exclusively devoted to typography, typefaces, type design, and the new sort of boom that was taking place in electronic type, the way type could be made electronically. And it's a brilliant publication. It lasted long after Lubalin gave up the editorship. It was a wonderful example of how certain people, certain graphic designers, can combine the role of editor and designer. And when that happens, it can be a remarkable thing.
Herb Lubalin's legacy continues to inspire designers, highlighting the transformative power of creativity in their work. He demonstrated that the world of graphic design can evolve when you unleash your creativity and embrace collaboration without fear. Subscribe to 2 Studio and join us in celebrating the lives and stories of creative pioneers.